Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you joined us for our three-day Metals and Mining event. Our next presentation is from RUA Gold. Please note you can submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides, and you can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings by clicking Book a Meeting in the top toolbar. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Robert Eckford. He's the Chief Executive Officer of RUA Gold, which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol NZAUF and on the TSXV under the symbol RUA. Welcome back, Robert.
Thanks very much for having me, John. I'll take the audience through what RUA Gold is all about. As you can tell from our OTC ticker symbol, it's New Zealand gold. And that's really what we're talking about here. We're an emerging gold producer. We've only been listed for a little over a year, but we've got two really high-grade prospective land packages down in New Zealand. I'm not going to go slide by slide in the interest of time, but this investor deck is available on our website. There's a few key things I really want to touch on as we go through the presentation. And I'm going to start with New Zealand. What the heck are we doing in New Zealand? Because most audiences, when they hear of mining in New Zealand, they think the green rolling hills, beautiful landscapes. As you can see from some of the pictures we're going to show, it is a stunning country. But there's pockets of New Zealand that are extremely mining friendly and actually have an active mining community already. Not only that, not only does it have a long history of mining, but you've got a government that is actually pushing for more mining in New Zealand. They see their neighbors across the water in Australia, and there's a huge amount of GDP growth and economic wealth coming from mining there. New Zealand wants a piece of that pie. They're losing a lot of their young population over to Australia, and so the government's doing something about it. They've done a couple of things. The first thing they've done is committing to doubling exports, mining exports out of the country by 2035. And so if they want to double the exports, what's the next thing they do? They need to permit more mines. And so the first piece of law that was passed under this new government was the fast track legislation. And that fast track legislation enables a mine permit to be granted in a 6-month time frame. And we're not talking about a proposed bill here. This is actually being proposed at the start of 2024. It's gone through the commentary period. It's passed into law now at the end of 2024. And now mining companies are actually permitting their mines under a 6-month time frame, which is world leading. It's the quickest time you're ever going to see a company go from exploration to studying to actually building the mine. And it is the best place to be, because if we want to capitalize on this gold market, we have to show that we're going to get the gold out of the ground in a timely manner. So really exciting jurisdiction. The last thing I'll touch on is that for the first time ever on the 31st of January, New Zealand actually brought out a critical minerals list. And on that critical minerals list included gold and included antimony, both on our properties in New Zealand. I mean, they're so bullish. Again, I can't reiterate how bullish the government is on encouraging mining, that they actually even put met coal on that critical minerals list, because it is critical to the energy security for New Zealand. So we're really happy to be in New Zealand. I want everyone to take a look and change the stigma that you think when you think about New Zealand. And as we go through this presentation, I'll demonstrate that we've got a really good jurisdiction to be operating in here. Before we get into the assets themselves, who are we and what are we doing? What have we put together here? I mean, this team that is behind RUA Gold isn't your standard explorationists. We've done a lot in the mining space. I've done nothing but mining my entire career. As a team, we've raised over $2 billion in capital. We've actually built 8 mines and put them into production, and we've sold companies in excess of $11 billion. So we have a huge amount of experience in doing this, in building companies. We're not just here to plug a few holes in the ground and hope someone comes and buys us. We have the depth to take this on the full cycle. Touching on a couple of the key people, we've got Oliver Lennox King as our chairman. He was the founder of Frontier Gold, which sold to Newmont for over $2 billion. He's founded Rox Gold, and he built the 2 mines at Rocks Gold and exited that in 2021 for $1.5 billion. So he's had his own great successful track record. He's our largest shareholder. And then myself, I'm a finance guy by background. I was a CFO of Aris Mining, and I co-founded that with Neil Woodyer. Aris Mining is now a $1.4 billion mining company, largest gold exporter out of Colombia. Needless to say, every single board and management member that we have in front of us has had a huge track history of building companies. And again, not just building an exploration deposit, not just finding gold. Simon Henderson, our geologist, is the expert at that. But we've also got depth to build mines, to sell companies, and actually really create the full Lassonde cycle of shareholder value. And the most important thing to you all is that we're very aligned to the shareholders. We own 22% of the company, and this is legit money put into the company. Our average cost base of our shares right now is around 75 cents Canadian. Right now, we're trading around 65 to 70 cents Canadian. So anyone buying shares today is very much aligned with the insider's average cost base. We've got a great retail following. We've got 24% of our shares trade with the retail groups, and then institutions and high net worth collectively make up another 32%. So each time we've gone out for financing, we're really well supported with institutions, and that includes Libra out of New York, Zechner out of Toronto, and Ixios out of France. We maintain our roadshows across North America and Europe. A nice tight float of only 60 million shares out, no warrants. We raise our money without warrants and without big market discounts. And so it speaks to, one, the value of the assets and how much they're loved, but two, the management team and the fact that we've made a lot of people a lot of money in the past. And so a lot of people back the jockey again and are putting money into RUA Gold. And we're right at the outset right now. Again, we've only listed this for 1 year. We were private for 5 years before that, really doing the proof of concept and amassing our land package. And 2025 is the year of exploration. This is when we're executing on our drill campaign, which leads me now to getting into where are we and what are we doing down in New Zealand. So we're in both the North and the South Island of New Zealand. For the interest of time, I'm going to really focus on the South Island because that is our advanced exploration project where we have 2 drills turning today. But the North Island is equally as important from a longer term perspective. It's the blue sky of the property. And really, I want to make sure we are focusing on the South Island because that's where I see our near-term catalyst coming. But if anyone wants to book a follow-up, I'm happy to do the full presentation and talk about both assets. So digging into the Reefton Goldfield. The Reefton Goldfield is an orogenic greenstone belt. What that effectively means is it's lots of narrow veins of really high-grade gold. And so back in the old days, there was a gold rush here, and they took out 2 million ounces of gold at grades between 9 and 50 grams a ton. And I'll just stop here. The average gold grade being produced today is 1 gram a ton. And so we're at multiples of where all the average mines are in the world that are in production. And I'm really focused on high-grade gold. That's what differentiates us. Apart from having a management team, which there's lots of great management teams, apart from being in a great jurisdiction, which other companies have, these grades are unmatchable. And we're going to go through some of the recent exploration results that really prove that. So as I mentioned, we're down in the South Island. You've got this high-grade greenstone belt that's already been mined. And I mentioned this was an old gold rush. So it started getting mined around 1880s all the way up to 1950. And essentially what we're looking at is the RUA Gold land package of 125,000 hectares here. I've got a question in the Q&A box here as to what is the relationship with Siren? And I'll just quickly jump back up. So Siren owned 22% of the company. The way they got that 22% is going back to our land package. When we first listed RUA Gold, we had the north half of the Reefton Goldfield under our control. And we had some really good exploration results. Our market cap quickly went from 20 million Canadian where we listed this, up to 40 million Canadian. And in my last 10 years working in North America, I've gone through a very heavy M&A growth strategy with Neil Woodyer as my CEO. He's called Neil the Deal for a reason. We build companies both through organically, but also inorganically through M&A. And one thing I've learned is that when we sit here with a 40 mil market cap and our neighbor that owns this whole south area of the Reefton district had a 20 million market cap, there's an opportunity for us. And so what we did is we entered a deal with an ASX company called Siren, whereby we bought their Reefton project off them in exchange for 18 mil of shares, valued at $1.20 a share. So today, as I mentioned, we're trading around 65 to 70 cents. We offered them 18 million dollars worth of shares at $1.20 share price where we were trading back then. And we picked up the rest of this Reefton goldfield. It's important because now we have 95% of this whole goldfield. And keep in mind, it's called Reefton because it's a town of reefs, gold reefs. And so this is homage to the historic production that came out of here. And we now own 95% of this gold mining district. The one area we don't own is the 7,000 hectares right in the middle of us. And that's owned by a private company called Federation Mining, and they have the Blackwater project. They've raised over 150 million. They're fully permitted, and they're partway through building that into a gold producer. So we've got the land package, we've got the scale, and we surround our neighbor who's proven the concept that there's a lot of gold left in this area and there's a real profitable mines that can be generated here. So that's the lay of the land overview of where Reefton is. Looking at it from a topographic map perspective, this is the landscape we're dealing with. In the bottom of the photo, you'll see the Reefton town. It's a town of around 1,000 people. And it's a coal mining town. So on the edge of the mountains is active coal mines. This is an active coal mining town of New Zealand. And so again, pockets of New Zealand are very mining friendly and very mining centric. The only two companies that have ever gone back into this area in any meaningful way since the 1950s was, as I mentioned, our neighbor that we've enveloped, the Blackwater project owned by Federation Mining. They've proven up 785,000 ounces at 24 grams a ton. Again, 24 times the average grade being produced out there. The only other group that have come in is Globe Progress. And Globe Progress was run by a mid-tier called Oceana Gold. They came and mined this for a period of 7 years and took out 600,000 ounces. So since the 1950s, two areas have been approached and remined or re-explored. Both of them have proven really successful. Our focus right now is one drill turning at Cumberland, one drill turning at Old Creek, and we're very confident, given that we've been in this area for 5 years and we've done a huge amount of surface work, we're really confident that the drilling is going to unfold a really good opportunity for shareholders. To take it into this nice 2D approach and to try and explain better what we're looking at, we're talking about an area across that district where these old timers came in and they mined as deep as they could go as technology would allow back in the 1950s. And so you have mines that historically artisanally went down 500 meters, 350 meters. And this is just the concept of people walking up a hill, finding outcropping quartz veins with gold in them, and they'd follow the vein system down as deep as they could. But for various reasons, they either hit a water table and they didn't have dewatering technology back then, or in the situation with Blackwater, that was a massive mine collapse because at 700 meters, that's as deep as you could get there. And so really, there's been no exploration at significant depth. And the one group that have done it, again, is the group that we've surrounded. It's the Federation mining team. They went into the old mine area that went down 700 meters. They built a portal down, and they've found a resource of 785,000 ounces that goes all the way down to 1,500 meters and is still open at depth. So we've now got the opportunity for 7 federations on our property. Nothing has been explored at depth in any of these historic areas, and that's really the opportunity. But we're very sensible custodians of capital at RUA Gold. And so our first two targets, just going back to the previous slide, is Old Creek and Cumberland. And the reason that's those first two is because there actually wasn't any historical working on these two. So the drilling we're doing right now is very shallow. It's only down to 200, 250 meters. And we're finding mineralization from surface down to that level. And we're doing that because at the end of the day, it's very expensive to drill 600 meters underground. And so we're going for the low-hanging fruit. So what has that exploration uncovered thus far? Well, we started drilling at Old Creek in December, and we've put out a number of positive drill results over that period. From Old Creek, we've got 12 meters of 12.5 grams a ton, 8 meters of 13 grams a ton. These are gold equivalents because, as I mentioned, we have gold and antimony on our property. And antimony is one of these critical minerals that everyone is talking about in this mineral war environment. And everyone's looking for a piece of antimony. And so it's really important, not just economically, because the spot price of antimony has gone from 10,000 to 60,000 over the last 2 years, per ton that is, but also strategically, because we're sitting on New Zealand's biggest known antimony deposit. We already have 8,000 tons proven up. It's really important strategically for permitting wise that we have this strategic mineral, because it really puts more focus from the New Zealand government on us and getting us to production. To the point where if anyone wants to look at the RUA Gold LinkedIn page, the most recent company post we did was the mines minister actually doing a shout out to RUA Gold on the good work we're doing in putting New Zealand on the world stage for mineral supply. And so really important and really good results from the drilling. And this is just from December. So we've got a long way to go, a lot more drill results to come. And so we're really excited about the catalyst coming from Old Creek. But really saving the second drill rig best to last is Cumberland. Cumberland is the second target we're drilling at the moment. And this one is the one that baffles me in terms of market. What happened is, as I said, Oceana Gold had the Globe Progress mine, and they operated that for 7 years. They started doing some peripheral drilling around the Globe Progress when they were looking to make the decision of whether to expand it. And really what happened is that they drilled a couple of holes into Cumberland. At the same time, the corporate office decided, that's it, Globe Progress is done, let's move our focus elsewhere. They just bought their mine in the Philippines. But one of the holes they drilled was 20 meters of 62 grams a ton. And it's only 60 meters from the surface. That is a phenomenal drill hole by anyone's standard. And we didn't drill it. We've reported it to the market. And because we didn't drill it, the market doesn't give us any reward for it. So we're a 40 million market cap company with an intersect that we're now testing of 20 meters of 60 grams a ton. That is one of the best intercepts of the year by any standards. And now we're going to test it. We've drilled the first two holes at Cumberland. They've been sent off to assay. Those results are coming in by the end of May. And so I'd encourage everyone watching today, make sure you're following along. We're really excited because we know that there's really high grade close to surface here. It's been proven by historical drilling. And now we're doing our own testing to make sure that we're going across the vein, work out the true width and see what we're actually dealing with here. So again, if you're looking for what are we doing today, how are you going to make money off investing, these are the type of catalysts that are going to re-rate the company and really take us to the next level. The one thing I haven't mentioned and is very important is that when we were buying Siren and we put the bid out there mid last year, it was announced to the market in July. And then we go through the closing process where we need shareholder votes to approve the transaction. In that 3-month closing period, Federation Mining, as a private company, tried to outbid us twice on the Siren acquisition. We didn't raise our price. We still bought them for the 18 million shares, 2 million cash. But it spoke to the volume that Federation Mining realized that they needed the surrounding land to create scale. They've got a great project. They've got 800,000 ounces of really high-grade material, But what we bring to the table is scale. They've got a permitted mine and they've got a financier backing them to the tune of over 150 million US. But again, they've got a 10-year mine life of 70-odd thousand ounces a year. We've got what we're trying to create in the Reefton district is a multi-generational mine. So that really is the story of Reefton. The near-term catalyst that people can look out for is the drill results coming from both Old Creek, where we're drilling, and Cumberland, where we have our second drill rig, and they're going to be coming in this month and continuously. And I'll just mention that we did our last raise in February. We went out for 5 million. It was oversubscribed. We closed 5.75. Again, we did it at market, without a discount, without a warrant. Very unusual, but that's what happens when you have a good management team and good assets. And that sees us executing our drill program all the way through to September. So we're really excited about what we can deliver. We're really excited about what's coming. If there's no questions, I'm just keeping an eye on the Q&A box. I will just mention our North Island asset for one second. We've got up in the North Island, sorry, I did get a question, key milestones to the end of the year that after the expected drill results. That is a great question. So what we're looking to do this year, and we're taking a bit more of a, as you can tell from the accent, I'm not a North American, we're taking a bit more of an Australian approach here. We're focused on Cumberland, Old Creek, and Murray Creek is where we've run our latest drill campaign. What we're looking to do is prove out a few sections of the Reefton project. We want to build an ounce resource of 1 million ounces, and that will trigger us to go into a study phase and actually build this mine. We're not sitting here and we're not going to spend the next 2 years drilling every single target across the 120,000 hectares because we know there's a lot of gold left in this area. What we want to do is take the shortest path to cash flow. And if we can prove up 1 million ounces in close proximity to each other, implement a hub and spoke type model where we're feeding a small 300 ton per annum type plant with a 10 gram head grade, that actually produces you a 100,000 ounce mine. And so you can get really good economics, have a 300 ton per day plant. So we're not talking about one of these billion and a half dollar projects that are out there in the mining space. We're essentially looking to build a small footprint underground deposits and high economic margins essentially because the grades are so high, and you can do it very quickly. The capex of a type of project like that is 200 to 300 million. And guess what? We've done it before because we just came out of Rocks Gold where we did this exact playbook. So really key milestones to the end of the year is building inventory ounces. 2024 was going live, taking over Siren, getting our land package. Now we're drilling and executing and building ounces, and we're going to start that, or we've already started that. We've already delivered some results, and we're going to continue doing that. The next question I've got here is the North Island has potentially even a bigger project, and you're completely right. And so I'm going to touch on that North Island. The North Island is very different. We're up in the North Island of New Zealand. It's an epithermal zone of New Zealand. And this is really a neurology story and all about Simon Henderson. Simon Henderson, our COO and our chief geologist, he's worked in this region for over 25 years. And he was on the team that actually discovered Wharekirauponga, which is OceanaGold's biggest pipeline asset. We're just north of OceanaGold's Waihi mine. It's produced over 10 million ounces, is still producing today. And we've got the tenements adjacent to OceanaGold. We were able to get that because in New Zealand, if you have an exploration asset and you don't have a resource or you haven't done the appropriate work after a 10-year period, you relinquish it. And so we were ready and waiting. Simon knows this area. He knows all the stakeholders. And as soon as they relinquished it, we picked it up for a grand total of $3,000. No encumbrances, no royalties, nothing attached to it. So we've got this beautiful land. We've got the geo that spent 25 years in this region, and we're right next to a proven indicated deposit of 1.5 million ounces at close to 18 grams a ton. Again, ridiculously high grades in New Zealand. So we're really excited, but we're not spending a dime here. because we've done over the end of 2024 and in the beginning of this year, we spent 9 months doing all the surface work. We were doing the drone flying, the mapping, the soil sampling, the rock chip sampling, and we found really good results that show an alteration zone that is parallel to Wharekirauponga or WKP. Exact same surface features as we saw at WKP and the classic features of a major epithermal system. So we're really excited, and the question is exactly right. This has the potential to be an even bigger project. But as I mentioned at the start, the New Zealand government have this new 6-month permitting regime. Wharekirauponga was one of the first projects to be submitted into that. And so they submitted it in February. By August, we're going to know whether that's a fully permitted through to first gold project that's next door to us. We don't need to spend $1 on it until we're completely sure that that fast track process is working and our neighbor gets the permit, and it alleviates any permitting risk that people might be skeptical and say, oh, you can't get things permitted in New Zealand. Well, guess what? Our neighbor's there and we're about to have a drill turning. So the story in the North Island is sit, keep our powder dry, don't spend money until we're sure that we're going to have a real project here. We know exactly where our drill targets are, and we'll have a news release coming in the next couple of weeks to really articulate that. But this is really an H2 story when we start drilling here in the back half of the year. The one last question I've got here is what do we do with antimony? What's the commercial uses of antimony, and is it a critical mineral? So it is a critical mineral. It's on every single country's critical minerals list, whether it be USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Europe. I mean, it is one of the key critical minerals. It's actually been voted by the Critical Mineral Institute as one of the scarcest critical minerals, which is important from the supply side on the macro front. You don't want some critical mineral that's found everywhere, because the price fluctuations, once it runs, just come back down again. But this is really scarce, and we're sitting on New Zealand's antimony supply here. I'll just go back to Old Creek because that's where the antimony results are coming through. So stibnite is the actual mineral and antimony is the processed mineral. So when we talk about 2.4% stibnite, we're talking about antimony here. The uses of antimony range. It's a flame suppressant. So Japan use it in a huge way in their battery manufacturing. For car batteries, antimony goes into the car batteries as a flame suppressant. For solar panels, which has boomed in China, it goes into the glass of solar panels and it hardens the glass and makes the solar panels more effective. And then the key component, and where the US comes into it, is that it's used in munitions, and it's a hardener material. So it goes into shell casings and has a huge amount of military applications. And so you can see why it's critical for the US to secure supply. And in September last year, the Chinese government actually banned the export of antimony products. And so you've got China now controlling 90% of the world's antimony supply, 10% coming mostly out of Australia. And then you've got all these uses for critical areas of industry and in the munition space. And that's what sent the spot price from 10,000 to 60,000. Both from the demand macro and the supply macro, I think it really has legs to even stay where it is, or if not go higher. And that's where we're really focused. We're always going to be a gold miner, but we're very much focused on antimony and its valuable byproduct credentials that it has. I've got about a minute left, so I can either wrap up early if there's no other questions. And thank you very much, everyone, for your time and attention. And happy to have any follow-ups. I'll put my email in this last slide. I'd be happy to take meetings and reach out if you have any questions. Thank you very much.